Hey everyone, welcome to Chat B2B, the podcast that gives you a front row seat to AI in B2B marketing. I'm your host, Andrew Rao, co-CEO of Intercept, and today's guest is Shelley Green. She's the director for Microsoft Modern Work at TD SYNNEX and has spent nearly 20 years working with channel partners, helping them grow through smarter marketing and stronger enablement. In our conversation, Shelley shares how AI is already changing partner support at TD SYNNEX, why security has become the #1 priority in the AI era, and how partners can start building new AI revenue streams today. This is Chat B2B. Let's get into it. So Shelley, you've worked with channel partners for almost 20 years, and now at TD SYNNEX, you support them every day. I'd love to get your perspective on why so many partners struggle to execute well on marketing campaigns and sales enablement programs. And we spend a lot of time with partners, and this is feedback that they're giving us. We're struggling. Why do you think that is?
When I think of just Microsoft by itself, the complexity is overwhelming.
Yep.
They change the programs, they change their promotions on a regular basis. Their incentive guide, I was just looking at this morning, I think it's 145 slides. When you think of a reseller partner, they don't just sell one vendor, they're going to sell many different vendors. And I think just the ability to stay plugged in and understand what do those vendors offer, what are they focused on, what marketing resources can they easily plug into from a vendor or from a distributor partner? And I think an easy way is to try to figure out, whatever your distributor partner is, what do they offer? Do they offer a marketing platform that's multi-vendor that you can just plug into so you don't need to build anything yourself? This is a really fast-paced industry, and I think it's just really hard to keep up.
I couldn't agree more. And your example of Microsoft is multiply that by 10, 20 or more vendors. And one of the things I do hear from them is they struggle to build a brand in that sort of chaos because marketing, like you said, is funded by different vendors.
Yeah.
And it's like one day they're promoting Dell and one day they're promoting HP, and then it's Microsoft or AWS. And, so it almost gives this sense of like an identity crisis in a way, because it's hard to be consistent when your marketing constantly changes because of the partner funding program that you're a part of and the campaign. So I think that's also one of the challenges. How do you create a brand that you own? That's when you got all these vendors, right?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like when I think of a couple of tools that we have, our reseller partners, so one called Demand Solve, we load marketing content in it for their end customers, and partners can go in, they can change the colors, they can add their logos, they can at least customize it visually. But I hear you about building their brand. How do they identify, what are they great at and what do they want to market themselves as? That's tough.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. How do you differentiate when everybody's being given the same assets? And I love that you guys already are offering, again, tools and platforms that allow them to customize and make it their own, because otherwise it's a vendor program. It's not from the partner.
Right. Yeah.
The other piece that we're seeing is on the sales training side, field sellers. I really feel for them on the channel partner or in the channel partners, because like you said, they got to be experts on every vendor and every solution. It's hard to keep that all straight.
It is.
And so it's something we've talked about before around this sales dojo, which is an environment that we've developed that allows field reps to pitch with simulated decision makers. That we're seeing is another use case for partners that helps them very practically on the sales side, because it's so hard to keep it all together. Right. And to be an expert and to be a trusted advisor.
Yeah.
Now, similarly, I know that TD SYNNEX had piloted AI internally in almost a similar context as Sales Dojo, but this was internal with helping managers, I think, have or prepare for tougher conversations. Can you share a bit more on that use case? Because I think that's a really, really interesting one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you go into the application and you define your scenario. So it's essentially for you to practice a difficult conversation, but you can set the level of difficulty and what type of difficulty you want to practice. Essentially, I'm talking to an agent. I outline my case. The agent responds back to me. I'll respond back and forth. And then at the end, you're given kind of a rating. Hey, you did great, or you need to brush up.
Interesting.
And it tells you ideas on how you can be better, which is fantastic. And I have managed people for many years, and I found it really fantastic. Because, you still have to think on your feet because you're having a conversation. It's not like you can type an email later on. Great feedback. And I think where it's a perfect fit as well as those new managers, because a new manager having a crucial or a difficult conversation, that can go many different ways, and not all of them good. And this is a really safe way for them to practice and to get feedback and to learn how to have conversations that are going to be hard or difficult. And make sure you're saying what needs to be said in a way that's empathetic and supportive of your employee.
Now, that is a very progressive and practical use case of AI, right? And that I think addresses a really big challenge for people of how do you be really good managers. Now, what was the reaction internally when this was announced, saying, hey, we've got this tool that's going to help you talk to an AI? What was the reaction or the spectrum of reactions? I just love to hear that.
Yeah, I'll tell you my reaction. At first I thought, well, that's weird. And I honestly didn't think it was going to be very good. Like, how can that possibly work? Right. But then I'd recommend it to one of my managers, just because I think managers is a skill, or people management. You're never done learning. It's a constant progress. You're constantly improving your skill set. So I'd recommend it to her as well, because I had enjoyed it and found value. And she was incredibly excited. She's a bit younger than I am, and totally, eyes wide open to embracing new tech. So maybe two different perspectives, but she also found it incredibly valuable and useful. It's a really good tool.
Wow. And is that in terms of, distribution and availability within TD SYNNEX, is that sort of every manager has access, or is it sort of in a phased rollout type of thing?
Yeah, no, it's available to everybody, which I think is one of the great opportunities with AI, and that you can't just select 20 people for this in-person training where we have to bring in external trainers and people are maybe pulled away from their jobs. And then, the next month or next quarter, you roll it to another 20 people. It was rolled out to our entire company, so that every manager can practice and use those tools to improve their skills.
Amazing. And I know I'm picking away at this one because I just think it's just such a fascinating example. But as you rolled that out, was there anything that you can pick up on or remember as a best practice? And the reason why I bring this up is that, I think companies are struggling to go from pilot to production. And it sounds like TD SYNNEX has scaled this out. It's effective. What's the best practice? Because that's so rare. Like, it almost sounded so easy of like, well, you guys did it and it worked. But what made it so successful?
No, I would say maybe the rollout wasn't the tricky part, because it just popped up in our workday training. They had done some communication around it, so we knew it was there. I think maybe the hard part for us is the adoption piece, right? Everyone's busy. Oh my gosh, now I have to practice with an agent. This is not going to be useful. And so I think maybe that was a part that we had to get over. And I think part of that is, people experiencing them and sharing their experiences, that, hey, this actually was really good and really useful. And, maybe if you're thinking about that in your AI strategies, having these people in your teams that are going to be those ones that are going to be sort of evangelizing AI. So they're going to use it, try it, and if they love it, ask them to share their experience with their colleagues.
I really like that recommendation, because I think that we all tend to wait for the big quantitative wins of it changed something 300% or whatnot. But if you don't story tell the qualitative wins of, hey, there was a new manager that didn't feel comfortable having this conversation, now feels a lot better and was able to have, able to have the conversation that they didn't want to have. That storytelling, internal storytelling, I think is so key, because it gets people excited, and it it's that sticky factor.
Yeah,
I think
I
too.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Building on that, I mean, when you think about AI, where do you think it can add the most value to partners that might feel that they're, under-resourced, or just don't have the bandwidth or the capacity? What are your thoughts? Where's AI helpful for them?
It is really easy for marketing. You can create images, logos, super simple. It's just even using Microsoft Chat, which is free.
Yeah.
So they don't even need to invest to be able to find productivity there. I think that I'm going to say two more areas. One is research. You can do a ton of research in very little time. So for example, I had a colleague come to me yesterday, and he was saying, give me some value points around the Microsoft CSP program. Why is it great for reseller partners? He had a couple other points. Instead of me kind of racking my brain, I just went into our AI tool, which we use. I use Chat, and the researcher thing, I just copied and pasted his question, which is essentially his prompt. And I let researcher run, and I copied and pasted it and sent it back to him. And it wasn't perfect. I deleted a few things. I added a few things. Saved me a ton of time. So I think research is fantastic. And the other one is a little bit of admin work. So I had another colleague who was building partner profiles. We're building an event. We're inviting some partners, and our boss wanted a list of attributes of the companies. When were they founded? Who are their leaders? What is their verticals? Do they offer services? Do they play in the security space? And so she was going in each individual website and looking it up. And I had touched base with her, and instead she could just copy all of those questions, give me the attributes of this company, throw it into AI or Chat, and it gives you the responses immediately. It saves a ton of time. So I think those are really easy ways to find some productivity.
And when for those that aren't as experienced with prompting, and is there a favorite tip or a best practice that you have that it helps to get you a better response? Is there any, I mean, there's always like the prompt structures and all that, but is there any like tip that you've sort of cracked on your side that you want to share?
I try to be as specific as possible. I try to tell the AI who I am, what I want, and who's my audience. So I'm Shelley. I need to create a marketing flyer for my partners. I want to highlight X, Y, or Z. I need about 5 sentences. I want it to be in a marketing tone that's fun and light, and then go from there. So I try to add in as many details as I want. And then you can keep prompting. Hey, this is too long, or this is too short, or can you add in this piece? But I would say try to give it the context of who you are and who your audience is, and also the tone that you want and the length.
Yeah, it's a good point. I always say that, explain it to the AI agent or the chat that you're using the same way you would a person, because I think we think of AI as this, super intelligent tool that just knows what we're thinking, when in fact, yes, it's got the intelligence and the capability, but just like talented people, if they don't have the context and direction, it's limited in terms of what they can output, right?
Absolutely.
It's as you were talking about like time saving and the efficiency, I was thinking there was a stat I read recently on MDF funds that 60% of MDF funds go unused every quarter. And I was I was thinking about that because I bet one of the reasons that partners aren't using these funds is they just don't have the time to adapt a campaign and execute it, you know? And so I think, yeah, that could be definitely like your point of just like research, using the chat function to actually get some sort of V1 copy down.
Yeah, absolutely. And creating the collateral as well. Yeah, got to use those MDF funds. Those are gold.
Those are valuable, right?
Yeah.
If a partner came to you today and said, we're curious about AI,
Yeah.
but I don't really know where to start.
Yeah.
What would be your recommendation of what is the first step that you take beyond the people working in, you know, their own personal chat GPT or they're experimenting with their own LLMs? What are your thoughts, Shelley?
I would say look at your business and find something adjacent, you know? So what are you selling today? What are you comfortable with? And what is that thing that's very close? And again, I live in Microsoft land, so I'm going to use a Microsoft example. If you're selling a productivity suite today, if you're selling, Microsoft Business Premium or something like that, just attaching a Microsoft Copilot SKU, now you're selling AI. And that is just one SKU that you attach to your business. As a CSP partner, you can leverage support from your distribution partner. So you're able to dip your toe into the water, knowing that you're fully supported, that you're not, you don't need to build anything. It's right there available for you. And I think, maybe if you're a Cisco partner, what does Cisco have that's available and adjacent?
Right.
What we do have as TD SYNNEX, we just started a program called Destination AI, and we have created templates. I
love that name, by the way.
Yeah, it's
Destination
funny.
AI. I like that.
Created a template for every vendor partner, and essentially think of it like a grid. And the very bottom of the grid is that where do you start? And so we've identified by each different vendor partner what is that way to dip your toe in, to take the easiest, sort of most obvious step. And then once you do that, you can decide, where do I want to go next? And we have that kind of all mapped out as well. And you decide where you want to go next. And we have tools, resources, and training to help you take that next step. But I would say, it's not overwhelming if you start adjacent and start simple and then slowly build your knowledge. I think all of our distribution partners offer many different trainings. We have sales training, we have technical resources. Plug in, take advantage of what your distribution partner offers too.
Great thoughts on that. I think it's easy to fall into that feeling of imposter syndrome if the partner doesn't have the AI capabilities on the bench today. I think that's very practical of look at what you're doing, see what's adjacent that you can, what's the next thing that you can grab onto, and then leverage your distributor or your distribution partnership to get the resources and training that you need. So if you're a partner that doesn't have that skill set, how easy is it to work with TD SYNNEX and getting all the support that they need? I mean, it sounds like you guys have a full suite of training and solutions.
We do, yeah. So we run sales training and technical training twice a month. And at any time you can have one-on-ones with our sales team. So we have AI specialists in sales that are available for our partners. We also have a whole team of design sales engineers that are available for reseller partners. If you want to ask questions, if you want training, or if you want to pull your end customer on, we will not say we are TD SYNNEX. We will be, your partner in that conversation.
Okay.
And help you answer any questions or build solutions. We're here. I mean, we're excited about AI and we want our partners to be successful.
Amazing. So there is that white label kind of offering there in terms of the consulting. That's really cool. Awesome. From the distributor perspective, how would you say TD SYNNEX is sort of experimenting with or enabling AI differently than vendors might be doing today? And how do you kind of see that role evolving? Yeah,
I think vendors do a great job of high-level marketing and fairly high-level training. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, I think that's where distribution plays a role. So one of the things we developed very early on was we have a Copilot Cloud Lab, and that is where partners can bring their end customers into a virtual scenario. Their end customers will actually get logins to our environment where they will then play with Copilot in Word and Excel and PowerPoint, so that the end customer is actually getting hands-on experience of the productivity. We've got a bunch of different scenarios in there. We've done something with Copilot Chat as well, where this is more for reseller partners. We can bring them in. Again, they're going to have hands-on keyboards, and they're going to learn how to build an agent. And as a distributor, we do that at scale. So we run those on a very regular basis. So I think we try to bring that high-level messaging down to the practical application, practical hands-on learning, I think is what we do.
And I think that last mile, so to speak, is the most important. And I think, frankly, where a lot of people are there's a gap for most in that, like, okay, we buy into the broader value prop, but as you drill down into practical use cases, I feel there's not as much availability of content and programs like this, like what you had just said. Because I do find there's a lot of questions just on Copilot in general. For those that are comparing sort of Copilot to a ChatGPT or Claude or any other models, in these kinds of experiences, what have you found to be that sort of aha moment for people with Copilot specifically that are, maybe it doesn't feel as intuitive relative to what they're doing with ChatGPT's example?
Yeah.
Why is that? And what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think when we talk to partners and end customers about the security aspect, that's the aha moment. So the difference with Copilot and Copilot Chat, that free version, is that it's going to assume the security of your M365 tenant. So the difference with Copilot and Copilot Chat, that free version, is that it's going to assume the security of your M365 tenant. So you don't need to worry about any of your data being public or being used to train a model. Even if you're using that free version, you're going to log in to Copilot Chat. You're now using, if you have ME5, now you have the security of your ME5 license using your Copilot Chat. And I think, partners and customers are balancing that question of productivity versus security, right? So what are the tools that are going to drive productivity? But I also need to make sure, number one, that I'm doing it in a secure way. And I think when they realize that Copilot versus, the other, especially Copilot Chat versus some of the other free versions, includes that security aspect, that's the aha moment.
And I wonder too, what % of people in the org are using some sort of shadow IT, particularly in this, and the security vulnerabilities that they're creating in a year or two may be a bigger problem. But right now, I think we're creating these problems and we don't know it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I saw a stat. It was something like 70% of people in organizations are using some flavor of AI that is not sanctioned by their IT department. So that's concerning.
It is concerning. And I think I guess people don't realize too, once you release that into a model, that content, you lose control of it.
Yeah.
You have no idea where that sits, right? Okay, looking ahead to the next sort of 3 to 5 years, what does a thriving high performance partner ecosystem look like that is in this, that's got AI enabled experiences? What is that vision, and what changes do you think we need to make today to actually see that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of the almost great unknowns, right? I think there's so many different ways AI can roll out. I think what I would love to see is really just this work that we all have to do that costs time but doesn't drive very much value. Like looking up account numbers, or preparing for a call, or maybe doing some reporting for your manager at quarter end. I would love to think that these things have been solved by building, small agents. And maybe there's agents that we use at company-wide levels to do some of the stuff. And maybe we all have, 2 or 3 or maybe more individual agents that address the tasks, those sort of administrative tasks. I would also love to see us using AI to have greater integration into our vendors and our partners, even things as simple as promotions. So for partners, let's say Microsoft right now, they're running a discount on ME5. It's 15% off for any new customer. But how does a partner remember all of these promotions? Again, they're selling 30 different vendor partners who are probably only running 5 promotions a piece, right? So is there an interesting way we can use agents? So that's tied into their system. So now they're doing a quote and they can immediately say, okay, this customer is eligible for this promotion. I'm going to tie this into my quote right away instead of relying on, oh my gosh, did TD SYNNEX send me an email 2 months ago about a promotion on this product? I would love to see this really kind of tight integration where we can share this type of information to close opportunities faster, just right immediately on our fingertips. I think that would be amazing.
You raise a good point. I think that integration is the key, is the unlock that we need to actually make a lot of these experiences possible. Because if you're sort of keeping everything in a silo and you've got a different partner portal for this and a different, place to get these programs and submit your POE and all that, it's it doesn't save time because there's still a lot of that administrative backlog that needs to happen. Here's what it takes to get there. Like we know we want to integrate, but how does everything really come together? That's something that, think about a lot.
I'm going to throw in one other comment. So Microsoft keeps talking about this terminology of frontier firm. And it's really about these reseller partners who are really thinking about AI first. And I would almost even take a step back from that. And it's about using AI in your own company. I think once you start using it yourself, and you can think of different ways where it can drive productivity in your end customer. And even if it's as simple as using Copilot Chat, which is that free version, get in there, start practicing with AI, build this sort of comfort level and AI first motion to help you figure out what do you want to do next in your business and what else can you offer to your customers.
I love that because we're going to be talking to Microsoft about that sort of concept of frontier firm and how companies can actually get there. One of the tenets of that is be an agent boss. I think that's the third pillar, and how everybody is going to be a boss of agents in the future. So it's kind of directing AI agents to be able to drive more productivity and efficiency. But I agree. Awesome. So there's a lot of excitement, but also I think fear when it comes to AI in the workplace and amongst channel partners. What are some of the most common maybe misconceptions that you hear from partners in terms of AI, both in terms of its impact to them, but also maybe how they're thinking about it as a revenue driver? So what are some of the misconceptions that you hear?
I think either maybe the biggest misconception or biggest stumbling block goes back to security. Is it secure? How can I make it secure? What are those steps I need to take? It almost seems overwhelming. And then it's like, okay, you know what? We're not going to do it. Because again, security needs to be that number one kind of forefront choice. And I would say when it comes to that, again, leverage your distribution partners or even leverage your vendor partner. Find training that's specific to your concerns. Find the products that may address those concerns, even things like, not necessarily pitching other third-party vendor partners, but things like Block 64 assessments, which Microsoft occasionally gives out for free, where it'll assess the end customer's environment for data and security. These are very accessible assessments. You can do those type of assessments, see exactly where those gaps are, and know how to address them. So I would say, absolutely you need to have security first as your primary concern, but there are maybe not easy ways, but there are pre-built ways. You don't need to go in and try to figure this stuff out yourself. You can use things like Block 64 or AvePoint. There's different vendor partners that offer these assessments to help you identify what next steps you should take to ensure that the data and environment is secure for AI.
I was reading the recent MIT paper that released that has kind of somewhat gone viral that was saying 95% of AI pilots are failing. And I mean, take it with a grain of salt. They interviewed 52 people, right? And so in terms of impact, it wasn't actual financial company financial performance. It was like very directional. But I think and we can drop that in the show notes, but I think what was more interesting to me was what the 5% that were succeeding with taking AI pilots to sort of production, what they were doing. And one of the main takeaways for me was that you need people, you need people to make sure you're solving the right problems. You need people to verify the outputs that AI provides. You need people to direct the AI agents, to your point on the whole frontier firm, be the agent boss, if you will, right? So it's humans, like people are needed. And so I mean, it's easy to look at some of the evolving capabilities of AI and go, well, that's going to replace us. But I think this stat, mind you, again, 95%, I'm not sure if that is truly accurate, that 95% of AI pilots are failing. But I do think it highlights that humans are needed in the process.
For sure. And maybe we're not as far along as we thought we were when it comes to AI.
Yeah, exactly. I think what was there was also a couple other things that stuck out to me on that one was the companies that were really succeeding. They were focused on these, the boring but expensive problems, like the back office stuff, finance and procurement and compliance, where you can actually measure the impact of things versus some of the more flashier things. And and I think it ties back to what you had said around starting small, because that was the other thing that they said this 5% does well. Start small, prove value fast, like pick one narrow workflow, show results quickly, expand from there. Like not anything mind blowing, but I think some of the basics we're not doing in some cases too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. Even I know there's a few examples that I've seen around just simple agents. So instead of having to contact your HR rep, there's an agent where you can kind of chat back and forth to find information easily and quickly. Like that saves time for the HR employee, it saves time for yourself for doing some research, some ideas too around IT tickets. So submitting those types of IT tickets and getting responses. Yeah, so I think you're right. I think, find very specific areas where maybe what costs you time and how do you solve it? Yeah. And to your point, ground that in what is the problem that you're solving versus in some cases, I feel that teams may want to create a problem that AI can solve. Like they learn about a use case, like amazing, let's go do this. Like why though? What are you solving exactly? So we did an interesting project last half with Clemson University. So they have a team of tech scholars, and we engaged with them. And our goal was to build an agent where our commercial sellers could connect with to answer sort of level 100, level 200 Microsoft questions. But Microsoft's a complex vendor. It was super cool because instead of, we have a finite number of Microsoft resources who know this stuff inside and out. But if we can expand that knowledge across our, huge commercial sales team, and instead they can answer a partner's question on the fly, instead of having to email our Microsoft team and then send it back to their partner. So it's been built. It hasn't yet been rolled out to commercial sales, but I think, that was an interesting way to use agents to try to increase partner satisfaction because we're getting responses back to them more quickly, and to empower our commercial sales team with knowledge.
I think that's part of, when we talked about that 3 to 5 year vision, that's part of the, I think what I would love to see is a lot of that self-service, being able to get access to things quickly, not having to wait. So I love that. That's very exciting. Yeah. You've seen many different partners throughout your career, some that have done well, some that have struggled. Yeah. what separates the ones that kind of grow sort of consistently through good times, bad times, versus others who are finding, maybe feeling stuck at the moment?
Yeah.
What are some of your observations, Shelley?
Yeah, I think some of it is, know your strengths and stick to it.
Yep.
But at the same time, again, finding where are those new technologies and new opportunities that you can grow, and then heavily leverage your distribution partner, right? You do not need to build everything. You do not need to have all of the resources in-house. Take what you can, because many of the tools, resources we offer are free of charge. Like we have an entire design, sales, engineer team across Modern Work, Azure, Dynamics. Those are expensive resources that you don't need to hire, but you can leverage. So I think that's it, is, knowing who you are, telling your story, and finding those growth opportunities, digging in and leveraging as much as you can from your partnership.
And Shelley, to your point, that some of these offerings that you mentioned are free.
Yeah.
They're free to the partner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So we do training, sales training, technical training, all of that's free. We do offer a limited number of certification classes, so things like MS 900, SC 900, the AZ, I think it's AZ 900. We offer those free to our partners, and we, exam vouchers. Our Copilot Cloud Labs is free. So we really do try to offer as many resources, programs, tools to our partners to help them grow and accelerate where they want to grow.
So for partners or leaders at partners tuning in who are under the pressure to, those famous words, do more with less, what's the piece of advice that you'd leave them with, if they're looking to get AI ready?
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to go back to, where do you want to grow? And then, do you need help from a sales perspective, a technical perspective, marketing perspective? We offer help on all of those. Take advantage of what that is. And then also, start something that's business adjacent. It's going to be an easier step for you. And I do also love the idea of the AI training agent. I think, building something like that so that it's, your sellers don't need to know everything all the time, but having this great resource available, so that you can kind of, what's the terminology? Fly the plane as you build it, right? So that you're building your strategy as your team learns and is maybe talking to customers live. They have this resource available to them to look things up and answer questions.
Yeah, love that. I was reading this piece on how we will see the first, single person $1 billion company in the next couple of years because they're leveraging AI agents. And I can't help but think that opportunity probably exists even more so on the partner side of being able to have, not the biggest team, but a very purpose-built team that leans on, Disti for programs and resources and strategy, leaning on AI agents for coordination, orchestration. What are your thoughts on that? Like, does that feel like that'd be maybe not $1 billion sort of moonshot, but do you think that's the game plan for channel partners going forward instead of maybe the traditional, let's just only hire more people, like in-house? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it has to be. We all need to move faster, sell more, and this just seems to perpetuate year after year after year. Right. And I think those companies that figure out how to leverage AI are going to be the ones that are more successful. Yeah, finding the ways to drive productivity. Maybe it's using AI to do fantastic marketing so that more leads are coming in, so they have to do less outbounding. Just even activities like that, I think, will help drive growth. And I think it'd be really interesting if there is, $1 million or $1 million plus company that's one person. It's probably going to be a 14-year-old who's learned how to technology from birth and has figured it out and gone to market and becomes incredibly successful.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that generation come up. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can see it in my kids of being AI natives that they really treat these tools as an operating system. Mm-hmm. a key part of it. So it will be interesting to see sort of what that next generation of partner looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But Shelley, just want to say thank you so much for your time. I think, your vantage point of really working with the partners, your examples of what you're doing at TD SYNNEX in terms of helping managers have those tough conversations, and views on kind of where we need to head to create better partner experiences. I think people are going to get a lot of value. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.